Eliza McCartney joins us. Best jump 4.5 years over the weekend in Luxembourg. Cleared 485 on the CAS International. Previous best this year was 10 centimetres lower than that in April. 485, third best jump ever, 492 and 490 in 2018. And to win the bronze medal in 2016 in Rio, jumped 4.8. Of course, if you know anything about Eliza and her career, she's battled Achilles and hamstring injuries over the years. The World Champs in Budapest start in mid-August. And thank you so much for joining us. Absolutely delighted for you with that form and to see you competing so well and jumping your best in 4 years. But I guess not as happy as you are right now, right?
Yes, I'm very, very happy to get myself nicely back into the 80s again, in the 480s. It's definitely been the most obvious next step for me. So I was very pleased to hit that at my last comp.
Yeah, what kind of a progression is it to get towards that and get back to that? Do you really have markers? Do you set yourself like, okay, there's the 4.6, I've got to get over that. Then do you write it down? Okay, there's 4.7. How do you actually do this?
Well, I definitely think of it that way. Like I do think of it very much step by step, and not trying to kind of achieve far too much in one competition, because there's so much to focus on in pole vault, and so I do find it easier just to think of it like that. And I started off in the domestic season around the 60s, and then I got into the 70s again. And when I came over to Europe, I was back in the 70s again. But I knew that the next thing I needed to do was get myself in the 80s again. So yeah, I was kind of really thinking about it that way. But I think it's been really obvious that there's some big jumps I'm at the moment, and that it's hard to get it all right on the day. So in Luxembourg, it was certainly an example where things were just kind of clicking fairly well at the time, and I managed to go over 85 quite nicely with not too much room to spare, but it also wasn't the best technical jump either. So I'm quite happy with that. It means there's still more in there.
Do you break it down afterwards? Like you got multiple cameras on you and things, and you go into a computer room and you look at all that. What happens?
A little bit less high tech than that,
okay.
But we do have a very nice iPad that films very nicely.
Right.
But yeah, no, for sure. We all of my jumps are filmed and we go over them, and I will write a comp report about what happened, and then I meet with my coaches, which I've literally just done right before talking to you.
Okay.
And then we have a big debrief about it, and then what we want to do for the next competition. So yeah, there's a lot of analysis going on for sure.
Psychologically, how important has it been to you to just get this kind of gradual progression? Because I'm sure that at times when you jumped 4.75 in April, you probably thought then, I could squeeze this, I could stretch this, I might be able to get this, but you've got to be patient still, do you?
I think to a degree, like sometimes you're just on fire, right? And you might just make some really big jumps all in one competition. I think that's not quite how things have been for me lately. And I don't mind, because I've been away from competitive, this level of sport anyway for years. And so I'm certainly giving myself that room just to take it step by step and not expect to be right back where I was when I was jumping well a few years ago. So yeah, everyone's different, but for me in this season in particular, my whole goal for this European season is basically just finding my feet again and getting myself back to where I was. And then I can think about, jumping even higher and breaking my PB and doing things like that. But right now I'm very much focused on let's just get back to where I was, really nail some really important kind of technical things, get really consistent. And that's when the heights will really start coming, I think.
You sound confident. I can feel it in your voice, though. Something's changed.
Well, I think, I've done a lot of competitions already over here. I think that was maybe my fifth one so far in the last month or so. And so, the more I compete, the more confident I get. And I'm learning a lot at the moment. I'm quite a different athlete to what I was a few years ago. And so to some degree, there's a lot of this is new, and I'm kind of like, I am trying to find my feet again and just settle back into it. But yeah, with every comp and every experience, I do gain confidence, and I feel good about my jumping, and it's very clear what I need to work on. So that's I'm not trying to scramble and find out how to get better. Like there's a lot to do in a good way. So I am feeling confident.
When you say that you've changed a lot, is that body wise? Is that physically? Is that technically? Is that mentally? Is it a combination? All of the above?
It is a combination. The biggest ones are definitely physical and mental. Like physically, I'm running quite differently. which is a good thing. I'm running in a way that's kind of protecting my body a bit more and hoping to allow me to have some longevity in the sport, and so I don't have the same sort of kind of injury issues that I did have previously. So I'm physically moving quite differently, and I think I'm a lot faster maybe not a lot faster, but I'm on stiffer poles than I was using to a degree, which is kind of showing that I might be a bit faster at the moment. So yes, physically for sure. Mentally, absolutely.
Great.
Quite a different athlete to how I used to be. Most of it's because I've been through quite a lot now. I've been vaulting for 13 years, I think it is. And it's quite a long time to be in the sport. And, I'm only 26, but it's a lot of experience. But also in that time, there was a lot of negativity and trauma and all that sort of stuff. So it's taken a lot to kind of overcome a whole lot of kind of psychological barriers that I had to get back to competing at this level. So it has made me quite a different athlete.
Who's coaching you now?
Well, the short story is that I've got James Stain, who's one of our New Zealand pole vaulters, who's here in Europe with us, and he's very, very kindly assisting us while we're on the road. So I'm very lucky that he's been able to do that. And so he's following us around, me, Olivia McTaggart, and Imogen Eris. He's helping all of us out. So, yeah, very lucky to have that.
Okay, and when, I'm just sitting here with so many questions to ask about. How long do you have? I mean, how old is a pole vaulter? How long can you go for?
Well, people definitely go into their 30s quite comfortably. I think the peak age is thought to be maybe just under 30, or late 20s, maybe around 30. I think people seem to peak around that time. But yeah, there's certainly pole vaulters that have gone into their mid to late 30s and still done reasonably well. So there could be quite a bit ahead.
Do you look at it in terms of how high you want to jump, or do you look at it in terms of what you'd like to win at these competitions from here on in?
Oh, very much for me. I'm focused on myself and not winning. Winning's obviously a nice outcome, and I'm competitive, so I absolutely do want that. But I definitely, to jump my best, I have to play my own game basically. So I'm very much focused on what I'm trying to achieve in that comp, and to a degree it is kind of heights, but it's also a whole lot of technical things as well. So that's usually where my brain is at.
Eliza McCartney is with us. 13 years, it's half your life, I mean, have you ever thought about doing anything else? I mean, there are times where, in what I would call the break, where you're going through your injuries and everything else. And I know that you've done lots of study and things like that, and you've thought, okay, I've got to have something that happens after I hang my pole vault up. But it's a hell of a long time in anyone's life to commit to half a lifetime doing something.
I didn't realise it was half my life.
It's half your life.
But you're right, it is.
Yeah, that's it.
It is. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think I'm setting myself up fairly well for life after sport, but it will be weird because, as you've pointed out quite rightly so, this is my life, and it has been for a long time. And I often reflect on how lucky I am. It's an incredible job to have. I get to travel all through Europe right now, and meet amazing people and see amazing places and compete everywhere, and I just love it. And I'm very aware of how kind of fortunate I am to have that. So I do want to do it for as long as I can, but I know that there is life after sport. And I guess I'll be ready one day. But yes, I'm about to finish my environmental science degree at the end of this year, actually. So that will help me out for when I'm ready.
What about getting into the broadcasting side of it? I bet you've had offers. I bet people would say, "Hey, we'd love to come and get you to commentate on this."
Yeah, I've done a couple small little things. I'm not sure commentating's my thing. Maybe it is. Maybe I just need to get into it. But yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm quite open to whatever it is really, because often I'm very, very regimented in my thinking and when very sticking to plan A only. And so I've been trying to think about different things and options A, B, C, D, and be really open to it. So I'm ready for anything.
Eliza, you always come across so lovely and so happy and so positive and so bubbly and stuff like that. Is there a private side of you that you just like to be away and people don't get to see, or are you like this all the time?
I think I'm not putting it on, put it that way. So yes, I think I just like this for sure. Yeah, no, I know. I get asked all the time though. People genuinely are wondering whether when I'm beaming away in competition if it's real or not. But it absolutely is, and it's the way I jump my best, and it is absolutely who I am. But you can't mistake that for being positive all the time. I don't think anyone's positive all the time. And like I kind of alluded to before, it was quite difficult quite difficult to get back to this point. Like, it took a lot of work psychologically and mentally to, I guess, feel confident and be ready to be competing at this level again. And it's been really, really hard at times. It's not easy, and there's a whole lot of barriers that I'd kind of created and really had difficulty overcoming. So I can tell you categorically I'm not always positive, but most of the time I am.
and going through that, and it must feel like quicksand. I mean, I've been through similar kind of different things, but similar kind of things, and at times you kind of don't know whether, there is an end to it or whatever, and you rely heavily on other people to be able to unlock bits of you and bits of your mind and stuff like that. And first you've got to, for what I found, first you've actually got to accept the fact that, hey, I'm a bit broke and I need fixing. Is that one of the hardest things you've had to do, is actually say, oh my God, I'm in my 20s, I need some help here?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think a lot of people go through this. It is almost no different, right? It's the first step is working out that something's wrong and that you need to go and seek advice and expert advice and people who know what they're doing to help you out.
Yeah.
And that's what I did essentially, or I guess almost 2 years ago. Now, after the Tokyo Olympics, I didn't qualify. That was when I was like, right, enough is enough. Clearly not working. I either need to leave the sport and leave it behind, or I need to work out if I can fix it and carry on. And obviously the answer was the latter, and I could. And I got an amazing team around me that was able to help me do that. But I did need a bit of encouragement to, do that, to make these changes. I think I would have struggled. Well, I know I would have struggled to do it by myself. I needed that kind of encouragement and support to say I need to fix this and I need help fixing it. So I was very fortunate that I was supported to do that as well. And it's allowed me to get back to doing this as my job and enjoying it so much. So I'm very grateful for that.
I'm sorry for even asking about that. I promised myself I wasn't going to, because I know that you've talked about it in the past, but it just seemed the conversation led there. But let's talk about you soaring high. I want to talk about the exhilaration that you must feel when you've just chopped that, when you've done 485. You said you only cleared it by a little bit, okay? But all of a sudden you're over that bar and you're looking up at that sky. What does that feel like?
Yeah, I guess there's two things going on, right? Firstly, it's just an amazing feeling to be launched up and over a bar. That's pretty cool. But then when you add what that means to have cleared that bar, it's exhilarating. It's so exciting. And I think you'll see in some of my videos, like I certainly celebrate hard. There's no quietly landing on the mat and being like, oh, that's great. I'm really excited.
Yes.
And I'm really happy about it. Yeah, for sure. So it is exhilarating. And, it's not an easy sport, pole vault. And so I think all of that adrenaline as well just all culminates and just, when it happens and it works, you just feel so excited that you've managed to pull it all together. So, no, it is probably as exciting as it looks.
Well, the World Champs are coming in 3 weeks, and we spoke to Tom Walsh just last week, and his best throw in 4 years, and then coincidentally you have your best jump in 4 years. For New Zealand athletics, this is the timing is perfect. So we'll just finish with what do you do between now and then, and the attitude you're going to take into that World Championships?
Yeah, so I've got one more competition before World Champs, and that's happening in a few days' time on the 4th of August at Yokram, which actually happens to be my favourite competition ever, I think. And so I'm very excited to be back here competing at that competition.
Why is it your favourite?
The short story is it's just this tiny, tiny little town in Germany, in the middle of Germany somewhere, and I've heard about twice the population of the town turns up for this pole vault competition, and it's a little street meet that's held on the edge of a football field, and they put tables around it, and it's a big party, and everyone's, drinking and eating sausages.
Brilliant.
Being very German. It's so much fun.
Great.
It's an amazing energy. It's amazing atmosphere, and it's just a really fun competition to be at. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. But that's my last chance to kind of work out in competition things before World Champs. And there's certainly a couple of things that we're going to really try and target at this competition to try and get right, so that I know I can, basically use them at World Champs. So that's a really important one to have this last competition. And then after that, I think I've got maybe 2 weeks between this competition and World Champs. And so I go into pre-camp with the New Zealand team, and it's essentially a little training block for 2 weeks. And then I compete at World Championships again. So, yeah, very excited for that.
Finally, do you allow yourself to dream? Do you do any visualisation of that kind of thing? Wow, I'm over the bar, I've cleared 5 metres 90, and here I am.
Visualisation is a very important tool for sure, and it's not something I'm particularly good at, but I know I need to do it. So I do try and do my best at it, but mainly when I'm visualising, I guess it's I'm really thinking about certain kind of technical things or how the jump feels, rather than visualizing winning, I guess. But, whatever works for you.
Thank you so much for spending so much time with us again. All the very best for that World Champs in mid-August. And as I said to start with, it's just delightful that you are competing so well at the moment, and you're still only 26, so yeah, there's quite a bit left in the tank.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. It's so enjoyable talking to you.
Devlin.
Unbelievable. Incredible.
The platform.